Joining us now is Rahul Khosla, the president of the Max Group, to take us through what this could mean for the insurance business as well as for the healthcare sector. Mr. Khosla, thanks very much for joining us. You know, as far as healthcare is concerned, it's status quo. So there has been no change as far as the treatment is concerned. But on the insurance side, the fact that you're under the 18% bracket, what's the first reaction?
So, thanks, Shireen. So let me just actually start by complimenting, I think, the government for both the speed, determination, their commitment to get this done, and also probably managing the basket in such a way that they want it to be inflation neutral. And it's nice to see the collaborative sort of nature of how this is being done across the state. So that's the first. On our businesses, there are sort of three parts, if you will. On the life insurance side, while you're right that the rate has gone up, the fact is that it will go up mostly for protection-based policies, which today constitute less than 10% of sales, although I must say the industry is trying to increase that percentage. That will go up from about 15% to 18%. So yes, there will be an impact there. On most of the other endowment or savings-based policies, that increase will be somewhat more marginal. It will go from about 3.75 to about 4.5%, because it's about 25% of the base rate. On health insurance, however, this is one would have thought that they would have kept that rate neutral. That will go up from 14.5% approximately today up to about 18%, which is going to be obviously more expensive for consumers. On healthcare, actually, the industry had been lobbying to say, okay, even the input rate should have been exempted, because that would really then mean the ability for us to pass on that benefit to the patients and the customers. But that has been kept at neutral. My understanding so far, as I know, is that the input rates are more or less the same as they were earlier, so no sort of change in that. And obviously, since we were exempt from service tax, since we are now in the exempt category, there's no change. Other than, I think, the input tax for some things like lab equipment and reagents, which has gone up from 12 to 18%, by and large, hospital providers ought to be, price neutral or impact neutral in this particular, with this GST.
Okay, so hospital providers will be impact neutral with the rollout of the GST. But on the insurance side, and you spoke about how there will be a marginal increase on the life insurance side and also an increase on the health insurance side. The government has been talking about enhancing penetration of insurance products and so on and so forth. Do you think that this is going to have a meaningful impact, at least in the near term?
Well, I mean, certainly any imposition of a tax or a fee on a product which is already quite tough to sell, which is things like protection, is actually not desirable. Given that the fact that most of the policies which are savings related will go up from 3.75 to 4.5%, obviously that is an increase, but it's relatively marginal. Where the increase is material is on the protection side of the business, which, quite frankly, ought to be a push, given the fact that India's population is so undercovered with respect to life insurance. Health insurance and healthcare, I mean, my comment is that, both of those, there's obviously a desire on the part of the government to make healthcare more affordable, as also health insurance protection more affordable. So by increasing the rate on health insurance, that doesn't help. And also the exemptions that we had thought might come on the input side on healthcare have not come. So that it's neutral, but it's not better than it was.
So as a consumer, if I were to go out to buy a healthcare policy today or a life insurance product, you're basically saying that come the 1st of July, there might be at least a 3 to 4% increase from where things currently stand.
On the health insurance side, yes. And on the protection side of life insurance, yes.
Okay. Finally, Mr. Khosla, let me ask you about your preparedness for the rollout of the GST. The Finance Minister here on CNBC TV 18 making it absolutely clear he ain't blinking. It is going to be the 1st of July. Are all systems go at the Max Group?
We are not blinking either. We are absolutely prepared. We just hope that all of our partners and people who we do business with are also prepared, because if you have a mismatch with respect to input tax, then you can't really get, the credit that you need on the other side of the equation. So, but, what is also true is that there are enough incentives and apparently enough commitment in the system, to sort of get on with it, which is good to see. And this is one of those examples where I believe that something which is quite difficult and complex has been achieved in pretty short measure. So, everybody who's involved, needs to be complimented at least for getting it up to here. Now, obviously, implementation, the devil is in the detail and all of that, but I'm certainly very supportive. And yes, we're ready.
All right. All right. Yes, you're ready and you're supportive. Mr. Khosla, thanks very much for joining us. That's the impact of the GST on the insurance sector.